Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Brands YouTube channel. It's time to talk NXT. Now, where I would like to begin is something I'm quite excited for. Tony D'Angelo, right, when he came back, I thought, slap the NXT title on him right now, have him lose at its Stand and Deliver, and then move him up to the main roster after Stand and Deliver, because the guy's been here way too long. They didn't do that. They did a feud with Dark State. He cost Dark State the tag team titles. He's beat Cutler James, beat them all up in the NXT parking lot, and then beat Dion Lennox in a match. And thanks to OTM's involvement, they're now going to be distracted with OTM. So Tony D'Angelo comes out and he says, look, I did what I said I was going to come back for, but there's something else. And that's when he called out Joe Hendry. And thank fuck he called out Joe Hendry. And what's weird is he said his name and he did not appear. But God knows what that's about. So it's Stand and Deliver. Hopefully the plan is going to be Tony D'Angelo or Joe Hendry, and hopefully Tony D'Angelo is going to win that NXT title. But if he doesn't, I'm not going to be too mad about it, because that just means he can move up to the main roster, because they've not got much left for Tony D'Angelo in NXT. He's been there way too long. The only thing left to do is have him win that NXT title. I mean, he's been NXT Tag Team Champion. He's been North American Champion, which he beat Obafemi for at the time, I think undefeated. And then he's been Heritage Cup champion. Do you know what I mean? He's quite literally done everything. And speaking of Joe Hendry, the NXT champion, he teamed up with the North American champion, Miles Bowen, against both their rivals who they beat for those titles, Ricky Saints and Ethan Page, who weren't on the same page, ironically, after Vengeance Day, because Ethan Page botched trying to help Ricky Saints. They both motivated each other, and then in the match, they did end up winning, Ethan Page and Ricky Saints, but it was thanks to Ethan Page. Ricky Saints this time tried to help Ethan Page, sliding the title, missed just like Ethan Page did. Tables were turned. However, Ethan Page used his brains, because Ricky's been trying to get Ethan to believe in himself, because he's been down ever since he lost the title, and then he was able to get the win. But not just get the win, pin the NXT champion Joe Hendry. And they're happy about it, because in Ricky's eyes, he's got the confidence back in Ethan Page, and now Ethan Page is going to go win the North American title and become two-time North American champion, and Ricky Saints is going to go win the NXT title and become two-time NXT champion. But what Ricky Saints doesn't realise that he's done is he's actually given Ethan Page the confidence to win again. He's helped Ethan Page pin the NXT champion. Ethan Page is going to move on from North American title. He had that good of a reign of the North American title. He's potentially the best star in NXT. He's going to move on to that NXT title. And he's going to try and chase it. And him and Ricky are going to butt heads. And I can imagine we're probably going to get a match between the two at Stand and Deliver, while we'll get Joe Hendry versus Tony D'Angelo in all his aura. And when I say he has aura, I mean it. Like, it's true. Did you see his entrance? It was cold. The guy has aura. So, God knows where that's going to go. But I'm quite excited, because either way, that's a good circle. You know, Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, NXT title, Tony D'Angelo. We could get a fatal four-way, in which case I wouldn't complain either. You know what I mean? So that's pretty exciting. For the NXT Women's Championship, Sol Ruka just kind of had a match against Lainey Reed of Fatal Influence to kind of just stick it to JC Jane, show why she deserves an opportunity. We know next week we're getting a triple threat match. So this was just kind of some filler, just to, you know, make some shit happen. Which obviously Sol Ruka got the win. Soul Snatcher's like the most beautiful move of all time. It's so hyped now that like the whole match was based around when Soul going to be able to hit the Soul Snatcher. Eventually she obviously did. One thing I want to talk about that I didn't really get was, you know, sort of Sean Legacy and Eli Knight had that triple threat match against Jasper Troy. Why? I don't know, right? And last week, I think he said something about Keanu Carver, like, I don't care, like, whatever, you know. Keanu Carver got involved and put Jasper Troy through the table. And you'd think that would be the reason why Eli or Sean Legacy might win the match, but no, Jasper ended up getting back into the match, and then Eli and Jasper beat him, which just seems stupid, because yeah, you've put over Keanu Carver, or you've set up a feud for Keanu Carver, Josh Briggs, Jasper Troy, but you've made Jasper lose a second time, and it wasn't really because of the interruption. Yeah, the interruption weakened him, but it wasn't really, do you know what I mean? And you've given both Sean Legacy and Eli Knight the win. So a triple threat match where Ilio LaFleur wins the speed title, and now a triple threat match where Eli and Sean, where basically everyone wins except Jasper Troy. Jasper Troy is losing to all these cruiserweights, and I just think, you're killing him, man. You're killing the guy. Why? Why are you killing all his momentum? So that pissed me off for one. You know, we've got a nice triangle going on, though, of Josh Briggs, Jasper Troy, Keanu Carver. That could be interesting. But then backstage, you know, Ilio LaFleur wanted to defend the speed title against Eli Knight and Sean Legacy. Robert Stone wasn't having it because he says, you know, you have to do a tournament. And that's when they're like, well, that just kind of defeats the purpose of speed title. Like, this shit's supposed to be quick, right? Let's make it quick, you know? And Elio was happy to do it, but he went, no, I want to set up a tournament. And that's when the Vanity Project interrupted, and it kind of went, okay, we've got a better idea. Put the speed title on hold, we've got a better idea. And that's when I kind of thought, okay, we're going to get Elio LaFleur, Eli Knight, Shawn Legacy versus the Vanity Project next week in a 6-man tag. And that's when Robert Stone announced to the Vanity Project that they're actually going to be facing the Americanos. I mean, what sense does that make? The Americanos are from Monday Night Raw. And they just had a backstage on occasion with Legacy, Knight, and LaFleur. So why aren't they facing them three? What? It makes no sense. It's stupid, but they did it anyway. So we've got that to look forward to next week. I guess they wanted next week to be as big as possible. But at the same time, like, it literally makes zero sense. But it is what it is. The women's speed tournament finalised. We had Thea Hale versus Ren Sinclair, with Ren Sinclair getting the win. So I can imagine next week, if not in 2 weeks' time, we're going to get Ren Sinclair versus Fallon Henley for the speed title. About time Fallon Henley defended that speed title. She won it absolutely ages ago. So, yeah, it's about time. What else happened? Tatum Paxley came out to celebrate her win. Izzy Dean came out and called her out. They broke out, she beat her up, and then Tatum Paxley was chasing her around the whole night trying to find her. Eventually found each other, started scrapping. I thought, of course, it's not going to be over. It's 1-1, right? Like, Izzy won. Tatum beat Izzy Dean the first time they had a match. Then Izzy won the North American title. Then Tatum now beat her for the North American title. So they agreed to run it back, and I'm thinking, of course, stand and deliver. That's where you'd culminate the feud. No, they're going to run it back next week in Austin, Texas. Why? Because it's not going to happen in stand and deliver now. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not just going to put it back on Izzy Dame. Tatum's going to win again. It's going to be over. Who's Tatum going to defend it against in stand and deliver? Because stand and deliver, it isn't as late as WrestleMania. It's the 4th of April. You've got about 2-3 weeks. So who are you actually going to defend that against in stand and deliver? Kind of pisses me off a bit, but it is what it is. I mean, it's a pretty exciting feud and division right now anyway. So, yeah. And the other match that we had on this episode of NXT was the NQCC reunion. Tavion Heights and Charlie Dempsey against 2 members of either Alexis King, Stax, or Uriah Connors. Obviously, they're building up. I think they're called... What are they called? They're called, like, Birthright. That's what they're called, because all their dads are former superstars, except for Stax, but he's Santino Morella's stepson, technically, because he's dating Ariana Grace. I think, anyway. And we recently learned that Charlie Dempsey is William Regal's son. So we get into this match, quick little NQCC reunion, and then Finley shows up, the dad of Uriah Connors. Obviously, Al Snow can't show up because he's dead, I'm pretty sure. And William Regal shows up, right? No Santino Morella, because he's a good guy. So William Regal and Finley show up, and then NQCC lose the match, and Charlie Dempsey decides to join the Birthright, which is pretty fair, because they wouldn't do much, because Tavion and Miles have went solo ways, and with Ren's building the Ren QCC. So Charlie Dempsey's decided to join Birthright, and fair play, pretty decent faction. You've got loads of people there who they weren't really doing much with, so it makes a whole lot of sense to make that faction. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about it whatsoever. But I'm pretty sure I've covered everything, almost the important things on NXT anyway. Let me know in the comments below if I forgot anything. Also, let me know what you thought of NXT. I thought it was a pretty decent episode. It's never going to disappoint. I mean, the match quality is always there. And it is, at the end of the day, just a developmental brand. No one's going to be a dominant champion. They're not always going to have 5-star stories. It's literally just building them for the main roster. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.